स्वामी 1 मिनट आना चंद्रका।
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
afternoon, everyone. So are we audible to you? Then it's good. And we'll start soon in 2-3 minutes time.
Shall we start there?
Yeah, it will take 3 minutes more to start. So everyone is requested to be keeping their audio off, other than the speakers, and speakers will also be requested to join in one by one. The format would be, just for everyone's information, format would be that briefly I will introduce the site platform and invite Professor Srinivas Subbarao to give the welcome address. And we're waiting for Professor Chitnis, Vice Chancellor MITWPU, to join. He might join from Europe. So then we'll request Professor Piyush Sharma, the John Cutton Distinguished Professor, Cutton University, Australia, to deliver the keynote address. Then we'll have Vice Chancellor's panel, where Professor Shiv Tripathi sir and Professor Parvinder Singh sir, both will deliver their Vice Chancellor's panel address. And then we have a technical session where Dr. Professor Philip Jarillo leads that discussion. And then we have Lavanya Jaina from the Commonwealth Secretariat London, India office will join. And then we'll have Pooja Joshi, Madam Country Director, EC Council, will be joining. This will be recorded also and live as well. So MITWPU team, thank you, Professor Zerindo there from Thailand, Thammasat University. You are a globetrotter, and you have been my teacher at ISB, training us to write case studies. So happy.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, yes. Thank you, everyone. So MITWPU team, are we ready with the live?
Yes, they are ready.
IT team, so they can share the link here also in the chat box. and chat box, they can share the link, YouTube link, and what's the Facebook link as well. So let me share it again. The YouTube link. This is the YouTube link of the university where it will be live. And there will be also a Facebook live as well. And this will be the Facebook link. Live. Thank you, Facebook team, MITWPU team, for sharing the Facebook live link. Okay, so this is now 15:30 Indian time, 3:30. We'll be starting in 30 seconds, which will be this will be recorded, and this will be also live.
Recording in progress.
We're starting in 30 seconds. Give us. Right. Thank you, MIT team, for sharing the YouTube link. Namaste, welcome to Consortium for Advancing Indian Tertiary Education. This is a following up webinar, international webinar. Earlier we had a webinar on looking at how innovation and creativity on campus can be created. This time, being a universities association, the Consortium for Advancing Indian Tertiary Education, short form CITE, is, am I clear? Is my voice clear?
No.
Okay, is this clear now?
Some
Is this clear now?
Yeah, now it's clear.
Now it's clear, okay. So, am I clear now?
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, audible. Please start.
Okay. So good afternoon and good morning and good evening, everyone who are joining from different places, from Germany, from Thailand, from Australia. So greetings from CITE, India. Myself, KK Dash, working with BML Munjal University, also working as a consultant in higher education as well. So welcoming on behalf of the CIT, on behalf of Professor Subbarao, to all of you, extending a warm greetings on this important topic. Thank you for joining this and participating in this webinar, which is kind of a brainstorming session leading to creating a discussion paper and also thinking of policy briefs, how to integrate Industry 4.0 into higher education ecosystems with a focus on universities. Over to Professor Subbarao for taking the proceedings further and delivering the welcoming address. Over to Professor Subbarao.
Yes. Good afternoon. Namaste. Welcome to SITE, the Consortium for Advancing Indian Tertiary Education. As you already know, SITE is an Indo-American visionary initiative to strengthen India's role in global higher education. SITE is a higher education representative and member-driven body that works and advocates for the promotion and interest of the tertiary and higher education levels in various national and international forums. Taking forward Prime Minister's vision on Vishwaguru, SITE has been conceptuated by academic leaders from United States and India as a part of the Mr. Rahul Karad, a visionary educationalist and executive president of MIT World Peace University, organized two important vision workshops with more than 100 vice chancellors, directors, policymakers, presidents, and chancellors in Washington, D.C. in June 22 and January 23rd in Pune, and established this site. Through this webinar, we are launching our virtual engagement with the higher education thought leaders to discuss and dive deep into the challenges and opportunities in Indian and global higher education. Today, we are organizing an international webinar on the fourth industrial revolution. Are our universities ready? Keeping in view of the importance of implementation of Industry 4.0 in our curriculum and practice. The readiness of universities to embrace the fourth industrial revolution varies across institutions and regions. While some universities around the world have made significant progress in incorporating Industry 4.0 concepts and technologies into their programs and operations, others may still have work to do, particularly from developing world. Here are some factors to consider when assessing the readiness of universities for the fourth industrial revolution: the curriculum and program, faculty expertise, research and innovation, industry partnership, entrepreneurship and startups, infrastructure and facilities, continuous learning and professional development, awareness and collaboration. While some university has taken significant steps towards embracing Industry 4.0, others may still be in early stages of readiness. It is important for universities to assess their status, identify gaps, and develop a roadmap for integration, collaboration with industry, fostering innovation, and nurturing a culture of continuous learning will be essential for universities to stay relevant and prepare students for the future of work in fourth industrial revolution. On this occasion, I welcome Professor Parvinder Singh, the Vice Chancellor, Raitbara University, Punjab, a dynamic academician and academic administrator and member advisory of SITE. I also congratulate him on his recent award as one of the top 10 professors of the year from International Education Awards in New Delhi in that. I welcome Professor Shiv K. Tripathi, sir, Vice Chancellor, Atme University, and Dean of Faculty, Berlin School of Business and Innovation, Germany, who is helping this site since its inception, who is having more than 3 decades of experience in industry, academia, and global presence in that. I take this opportunity to welcome my mentor, the great teacher. He is one of the top 2% of the researchers in the world in the field of marketing, as per Stanford University, and marketing guru, Professor Piyush Sharma, Sir John Curtin, Distinguished Professor, Curtin University, Australia. I take this opportunity to welcome Professor Philip Jelilo, a distinguished professor in marketing and venture development, who worked in Kellogg Business School, Indian School of Business, Singapore Management University, University of Texas, Austin, who can share his experience of implementing Industry 4.0 in our campuses. And I also invite Ms. Pooja V. Joshi, Country Director, EC Council India, an expert in cybersecurity from industry with more than 2 decades of experience. And I welcome Mr. Labanjana, Commonwealth Regional Climate Finance Advisor, Indo-Pacific region, who is an expert in the climate finance and who can talk on how to include sustainability and climate change practices in the curriculum in that. I take this opportunity to thank my own Vice Chancellor from MIT World Peace University and mentor to me from SITE, Professor R.M. Chitnis. Due to his travel in Europe, he is not in a position to join today, but he expressed his best wishes to all the distinguished panel members. Like one more, Professor Sujata Sahai, the Vice Chancellor, IILM University, who has been very interested to participate and shared her thoughts on the topic, but due to some important assignment in the last minute, she is not joining today's session. And she shared her best wishes to all the speakers and participants. We will compile your suggestions and integrate them to the discussion paper and submit the same to all university vice chancellors in the country. This will be available on the website of SITE for wider circulation consultation purpose. Thank you so much. Now I request my colleague, Mr. K.K. Das, who is a senior industry professional in higher education and also involved in the various activities of SITE since the beginning and a researcher at BL Munjal University, to further proceed in the webinar in that.
Thank you, Professor Srinivas. Thank you, Professor Srinivas Subbarao. Am I audible to you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. We would like to invite everyone, please keep your audio muted, and you are requested to keep your audio muted. A 11407, that's a difficult name. Please rename yourself. We would like to have the keynote speech from Professor Piyush Sharma, who is the John Cuttin Distinguished Professor, School of Management and Marketing. Professor Sharma has more than 3 decades of experience, professional experience in both industry and academia. He joined School of Marketing at Cuttin in 2014 and has served as a member of the Strategic Review Board of the Faculty Business and Law, Cuttin India Mission, and Academic Board of Cuttin University. He is currently co-leader of the Customer Experience Research Group, Innovation Research Hub, Navigating Intercultural Experiences platform in the School of Management and Marketing. He also serves as a member of Australian Research Council, College of Experts, Associate Editor in Marketing for Journals of Business and Research. He is member of several boards and review boards of international journals. Professor Sharma has been ranked among the top 2% researchers in the world across all fields of research and ranked among top 60 business researchers in the global ranking based on publications in ABDC journals in last 1 decade, since 2013. He has also been recognized as the rising star from marketing among Australia's top 40 researchers across all disciplines. So he has published more than 100 high-quality peer-reviewed research articles in top international journals. Professor Sharma has also presented papers in 120 international conferences across the world, across the continent. And he has successfully supervised students in higher degree research and continues to be a thought leader in not only in marketing, in management, in higher education, and continues to guide associations, institutions, faculty members across the world, including in India. Over to Professor Sharma and what he thinks about Industry 4.0 being integrated into the world of academia, and where does he see that how we are moving in Indian context. Over to Professor Piyush Sharma, who is someone who is a veteran, who has looked at global academia and Australian academia and the developed world's academia as well. Over to you, Professor Sharma. We will be grateful to have your insights.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible. You can hear me clearly.
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, sorry, I have a bad throat. I just landed in Europe a couple of days ago and had a very bad cold. I was trying to share my slides, but I think the slide.
Now you can. Now you can. You are the co-host, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We do that. Can you see my slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll go. This is one of my standard presentations, so I'll probably go faster. If someone let me know. If I'm running out of time, and I can go faster. So basically, I mean, India needs no introduction in the field of higher education. People of Indian origin are known around the world for their intellectual capabilities. Some of the top professors around the world, engineers, scientists, CEOs, have been products of Indian higher education system. So clearly, we don't lack in terms of quality. I think some of the key questions facing the Indian higher education sector today is how do we become more globally connected? In the past 40, 50 years, most of the flow has been one way, going out of India. A lot of students have gone, for higher studies and also, to work outside India. If you take my example, can people mute themselves? I think that will help. So, for the first half of my career I was in India. I went to Delhi College of Engineering, IIM Bangalore, etc., and worked in India for about 10 years before I went overseas for my PhD, and then for last 25 years I've spent outside India. And obviously, there are certain areas where we do well, and there are certain areas the Indian education system probably needs to move faster and improve their quality. I think research and technology and creating new intellectual property are some areas where we can do better. We've done quite well in terms of having new startups and a number of unicorns that have come out of India. We've caught up with China in terms of the numbers. A lot of Indian companies are now coming up, but we still don't see a lot of global brands coming out of India. So hopefully, the higher education system in India, as it gets connected more to the global system, would lead to the rise of Indian businesses and more global brands coming out of India. The other question that I've faced, I've been traveling back and forth to India for the last 25 years. And one area that has always, I think there's always room for improvement, is how do universities in India work more closely with the industry? So, some of the IITs and IIMs and other top institutions haven't had any problems with that. They have centers of excellence and research centers. And also, I'm very pleased to see that a number of new private universities are also making good progress, including MITWPU and many others around the country. So I thought I'll just quickly take you through some of the work that I've done over the last 10-15 years in tracking the Indian higher education industry and trying to gaze into the crystal ball and see how things will evolve in a few years' time or in the next few decades. So as a quick background, it's not surprising that the Indian higher education system is the largest, if not one of the largest in the world in terms of number of universities. We are still getting some noise. So a large number of Indian students travel abroad. COVID notwithstanding, I think we are going back to the fairly high numbers as we're coming out of COVID. And it's not surprising because obviously we are the largest. This is an old slide, so I still have the second largest, but we are the largest population now. So we do have a number of students who travel overseas. And it's not just education. Indians are also traveling in very large numbers for outbound tourism. So as the income levels go up in India, the disposable income levels, more and more people are traveling overseas for tourism and also for education. All right, so let me just go through this. Okay, so in terms of the major trends, the global international student population is close to about 5 million. So against that number, about 150 to 200,000 Indian students going overseas is not really a very big number. So where do these numbers come from? So mostly China, India, and South Korea. They account for a very large proportion of these students. And also Africa, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Latin America, they're also emerging as sources of outbound students. And this also kind of gives you an idea if India has to play a large role as a global education hub, then what kind of countries and regions we can target to have students coming to India to balance the outflow of students from India and those who are coming in. As you can see, US continues to be the #1 destination, about 20%, followed by UK, France, Australia, Germany, etc. Singapore and Hong Kong have come up greatly. I mean, these are two places where I've spent a lot of time in the last 20 years, but India is nowhere. So that's one immediate glaring omission that we see here. Given the quality of our higher education system, why is it that we are unable to attract very large numbers of international students to come to India? So There are some factors that we can look at. So there are demand factors in terms of the active recruitment effort, reputation, visibility, and also the growing wealth in the emerging markets where I just mentioned higher education levels, the income levels, and also connections between universities from across different countries. So in the last 10 years, a lot of Indian universities have signed MOUs and established relationships, exchange programs with their international counterparts, and all of that is helping in this double flow. However, obviously there are many challenges. So there is obviously the issue of the tuition fees being very high overseas, and also the number of faculty members to student ratios are also going up as a result. So this is basically where all these students are coming from, just in one slide. So you can see about 200,000 students from many of these areas. So India continues to be a very large player in that respect. Now, in terms of their rankings, universities in China have obviously, in the Asian region, have taken the lead compared to India. We're still trailing behind them. Japan has obviously a very large number. So I see this more as a, as an opportunity rather than a challenge for us. I think we can learn from our counterparts in terms of, their focus on certain areas like technology, emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and specific applications like biotechnology. And in India, we have a huge advantage in terms of being in the tropical climate. We can do a lot of research on climate change, agriculture, and obviously mining, and many other areas besides software and technology, which have been our strength. So as I mentioned, China has obviously risen quite rapidly, and it's not that we want to copy them because they have their own system, they have their own constraints and facilitators. India is largely very diverse compared to China, and therefore we'll need to come up with our own growth model. So I think the new education policy is a right step in the right direction. So what I think we need to discuss, hopefully during this event, the attendees will be talking about some of these ideas. What is it that we can do both at the policy level and also at the ground level by the universities? Because globalization, as we know, is a two-way street. So we can't just take. We also have to give to the academic community globally. Are we ready for two-way mobility? Do we have the infrastructure and the facilities that we can host a large number of international students to come into India, do industry visits, have internships, go and work with Indian businesses and other research institutions. And then when we talk about mobility, we also need to look at mobility of what? So student mobility is one aspect. We also need to encourage a more faculty mobility, mobility of ideas, mobility of knowledge. So I think these are all important things that we need to look at. And also I work very closely with a number of Indian universities who have signed MOUs and exchange programs with international universities. But as I said in the beginning, largely it's one-way flow. So we need to think about strategies. How can we encourage foreign students to also come to India and be a part of our culture and learn from their experience in India? So the Indian higher education system needs no introduction again. In the past, we had, the biggest and the most global universities, Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramshila, Nagarjuna. So India was a global education hub. People from all across the world used to come to India. And I think the temples of modern education system in India are trying to do the same through the IITs and the IIMs, research institutions, state universities, private universities. So this whole ecosystem, I think that is where we need, obviously, focus from the government, both at central and the state level, but also the policymakers and the university senior managers or senior administrators, the vice chancellors, and so on. So I think, again, this Directorate General, the DG that has been set up under the leadership of Professor Subbarao, is once again a step in the right direction, because it can really set the agenda of where do we go from here and how do we really improve. So we can see again how, which states in India are leading. Some of these numbers may be a little bit outdated, but I don't think the general trend has changed. So Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, they continue to lead in big numbers. So again, there is scope in the other states for creating more growth, opening of new institutions, which I think has already started with a larger number of IITs and IIMs and other institutions, medical colleges all across India. These are the countries where Indian students usually go. So US, UK, Australia, etc. And in terms of inbound students, these numbers are interesting. You see our circle of influence is largely in the South Asia region. So we have students coming from Nepal, Bhutan, Iran, Malaysia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, etc. So, I mean, this is really, I think, something for people today to discuss in this event and following up. What are those other regions where we can attract more students from? What kind of strategies we need to put in place? How can we get more European students to come to India and to study? How can we get students from Africa, from various other parts of the world, Latin America, to come and because why should they come, right? So that's the core question. We are all emerging markets. We are all heavily resource-based economies. Agriculture, mining, energy. We have very similar concerns, very similar constraints. Huge public sector. High dependence on government sources to fuel our economies. So as a business school, and I know that there are many business schools today represented in this event, maybe we can put our heads together and see how we can shape and create an agenda where all of us can go out and attract students from those countries where they are facing very similar issues like we have. So this again is an important aspect that I think hopefully all of you will probably debate and discuss during this event and in future. How do we bring students to India rather than sending them out? So these are some traditional reasons why students go overseas. Because they can afford it, because the degree, the foreign degree has certain prestige attached to it. There may be some tradition in their families. Many of them, they go overseas to live there and settle there, and so on. It could also be special programs and some global recognition, etc. And then on the other hand, obviously, there are many factors that prevent a large number of students from going overseas. So how we can encourage more students to travel and come to India is through institutional arrangements. So having, providing them internship possibilities, short-term courses, collaborative projects for research, also joint research funding schemes. So recently I applied along with my colleagues at IIT Delhi and many others in schemes that are jointly launched by the Australian government and the Indian government. So there are a number of such schemes. I think universities in India can make sure that their staff, their academic staff is aware of these kinds of schemes. Setting up research centers and institutional agreements, I think, is another important step. Joint degrees and offshore campuses. I think now, if I have heard correctly, foreign universities have been allowed to set up campuses in India in joint ventures. So through alliances, MOUs, and partnerships, there's a number of things that can be done. So this is a range of individual and institutional arrangements that can be taken. I think I've kind of reached the time limit, so I'll probably stop here and take any questions if now or later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This was a kind of setting the tone for discussion that is going to follow up. You have highlighted the issues, challenges, and opportunities that Indian higher education has, and especially with the new opportunities coming forward in internationalization of higher education and universities coming to India and setting up their campuses. new opportunities and challenges have knocked the doors of higher education in India. And you have highlighted several such issues that Industry 4.0 looks at, like artificial intelligence and all the emerging technologies, and skills and challenge demands of Industry 4.0 are going to be there. And Industry 4.0 at a certain point of time will become Industry 5.0. So are we doing adequate transition in our education systems? That question will continue to be debated and discussed. Thank you, Professor Sharma, for setting the tone for our forthcoming panelists, and thank you so much. And all questions, whatever is coming, please keep writing, our participants, and we're also going to get some questions from the online platforms of both YouTube and Facebook. Now, may I request the Vice Chancellor panel to be starting now. Professor Shiv K. Tripathi, who is now the Dean Faculty, Berlin School of Business and Innovation, and also VC at Atmiya University, Gujarat. We are looking at your experience in transcontinental international experience in this context. And we have tentatively titled your talk something like this: the European and German Insights Road Ahead for Indian Universities. Given your experience both in Indian academia and looking at the European academic context, Professor Shiv Tripathi, who has got seasoned experience in both understanding the international academic in the academic ecosystem and also working in the Indian ecosystem and training, mentoring, and supporting and handholding them for decades. So over to Professor Shiv Tripathi, sir, for your insights and message.
Thank you very much, Professor Dash, and thanks to Professor Srinivas Subbarao, thanks to SITE and MIT World Peace University. A very good afternoon, namaskar to all of you. It's indeed a pleasure and honor for me that you have given me time to share some of thoughts in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and a special thanks to Professor Piyush Sharma, who has set a foundation for building it further. And greetings to all the fellow panelists and distinguished delegates. I would be just touching on, just to give me a minute, I will be sharing some slides, and I would start with okay. I think I'll be sharing my screen. I think that's the better way. And
yes, please go ahead. You are the co-host. You have
okay.
the sharing screen with you.
Okay, so that's what I think is going to work. Just give me. So as you have given me the title of Fourth Industrial Revolution and Preparedness for the Universities, I would like to start by beginning with the touching on the three dimensions when it comes to the university technology interface, or what we draw from the Fourth Industrial Revolution. That is, when I try to look into, I can look into content or syllabus that we deliver, curriculum that we plan. We can look into the mode of delivery, that how we deliver the curriculum, and we can look into the support processes, that whether it comes to the industry interface, it comes to the placement, it comes to the curriculum planning, it comes to any of the supporting processes, or even human resource or performance appraisal, performance management within university setting. So learning from what is happening around the globe and what is happening in India, The important thing that I try to look into, and what I would suggest, that we need to look at fourth industrial revolution from also the perspective of economic development, the social changes, and these two aspects, how these two are shaping and happening the technology, because technology adaptation and coming into its integration into behavior, it represents a totally entire dimension, and its success depends on how do we integrate it considering into totality. There have been a set of digital principles by United Nations and its supported organization, its digital principles. I feel it gives a very, very good, strong foundation, how we align the technology across sectors, and that applies to education as well. Many of the development interventions, many of the initiatives to improve the access and quality of higher education has been built on following these principles, and some globally, and also in India, we are working on this. So in next few minutes, we would try to look that what we can do and what are the some areas, mainly focusing on these three pillars: delivery, support processes, and content. But there would also be a focus on how the social realities and economic realities matter. As Professor Sharma mentioned, that some of the students, they can't go for the global education because of the affordability. Some do go there for settlement and employment. So we have to see, we have to balance that, what return on investment we can offer to education for their investment of time and efforts, and of course money for what they are going to invest into. When I look at primary level, as I mentioned, one of the challenges that even I remember one of the leading scholar on this subject, he conceptualized education 4.0, Professor Pankaj Chandra, former director of IIM Bangalore. And first level, when it comes to industrial revolution, we look into what type of new programs and qualification we can add. And immediately the call comes, go to the industry surveys, look into Big Four reports, consulting companies reports, and try to be ambitious to deliver each and everything to the students so that they can, we can be industry ready. But I think we need to go beyond, and it's not only about packaging some products and offering some ready-made degrees to just by capturing, even fortunately, unfortunately, sometimes I have found very little difference in the two academic degrees just for the branding and promotion purpose. Many institutions and universities, they are designing the program and saying, but if you actually look into the content and see that how one degree differs actually from the day, you will find hardly 15% difference or 10% difference in terms of what learning outcomes we are focusing on, or what skill or competencies we are looking into. There also comes the issue of how do we modify the existing one? What type of content changes have to happen? It could be an improvement in a course. It could be additional a few new courses within a degree. It could be initial a new elective, and sometimes what in India we call it add-on certificates or value-added certificates, as NBA and some accreditation bodies call it. So there are different forms to integrate that how we can respond to this. But how do we do it? For that, we need to look into the mechanism that what we are doing currently. And for this purpose, I feel that we also need to look into, particularly in Indian universities context, what new education policy, National Education Policy 2020 is also talking about, because it mentions about technology, it mentions about technology integration, different delivery, it mentions about internationalization. And as Professor Sharma mentioned in the keynote, now the time is to think how we can innovate. And when it comes to innovation, how we can add value for the stakeholders, for how it can be better learning experience for a student at the reduced price, or what I call the affordable experience for the quality education, and at the same time, how faculty members it can help them in collaborating more and producing the knowledge content more and more relevant content instead of just publishing in few cited journals. So the technology can play a very, very important role, and we need to understand the role of university at 3 levels. One is to meeting the need of new industrial revolution in terms of delivering the program and designing the program. At the second, learning from this industrial revolution, how as an institution and how as an organization we can perform better by adopting and integrating some of the technologies that we are using and for which we are preparing. And third and most important part that I feel, any of the revolution is the result of the knowledge. And universities are at the foundation of creating and disseminating the knowledge. So the ethical dimension of it, we should not be moving in the race of technology to the level that tomorrow we feel that what is the purpose of doing this? So we also need to look into how we can be addressing the issue of ethics in integrating the technology and addressing the needs. So what I feel, universities and institutions also are at a level from where they can try to shape the development which is more human, which is more sustainable, which is more required and relevant for the well-being and peace of the world. So, and for this, I would definitely like to mention that someone mentioned about Society 5.0, Industry 5.0. So Japanese International Corporation Organization, and they have come up with the concept of Society 5.0, where they try to look into that how the Industry 4.0 can be used in a more purposeful and meaningful way, and what are the few things that we need to do. So I think that the role of universities also is to ensure the good transition from 4.0 to 5.0 for the global sustainable development. And when I look into this, I think research plays one important role, particularly in improving the technology and its integration in education, as I mentioned, particularly when we touch upon the edtech related issues. So faculty of education, faculty of behavior, faculty of humanities, and faculty of technology can work together and see that what type of behavioral issues we are facing when technology human interface come, whether it is online learning or it is online collaborative research or even conducting the webinar or working from home. So how does all these apply to the education context? I think we need to continuously work on this and improve on what we are currently doing and what we are aspiring to do. Some of the opportunities areas that I see based on my little learning. One is how we can integrate technology in curriculum planning. Many of the board of studies trying to design 10 programs in 2 days time. So technology can be helpful for capturing the input over a period of time, and we can evolve the education management process by integrating technology and developing portals where industry and academia can share the views and exchange, and they can develop meaningful content instead just doing the conventional ceremony. We can also develop more transparent academic collaborations to contribute towards where some purposeful output we get. Technology, it's a very important area. There are good research going on, learning styles and how students differ in on the one side. When we are promoting diversity and inclusiveness, we cannot ignore the reality that with this diversity and inclusivity, also we have to responsibility to measure and ensure the student learning, because it influences their learning style and learning pattern. So how technology can help in measuring that and integrating that, that's where universities can partner. And of course, I mentioned that today when we are in the era of ChatGPT, so we need to look into that, what type of ethical issues and integrity related issues and how we can address to this. Faculty of capacity building, of course, is one of the important area, and we need to look into that. So the path ahead, I think one is how we align the operations. Today, just I'll give one example. We call multiple entry, multiple exit, or when we say that National Academic Bank of Credit in India, when we are designing this, how we are scheduling our timetables? Are we still scheduling it according to program, or have we made transition to schedule it according to the course? So that's where the technology can come into play in the education process. Aligning regulations, we are talking big things, but still we don't have regulation in place that how faculty teaching load is to be calculated when someone is teaching in the online, offline, hybrid mode. So how we are going to address unless we issue the ground related issues, ground level issues on the implementation side. And of course, one most important thing, it's always mindset change that still we integrate it, but it's at the same time, we say we don't want to move beyond the conventional mindset and how the students are attending in the classroom and how they are moving. So what I would like to conclude by not taking much time and saying one or 2 points, that today the time is we come forward, we collaborate globally, not only in India, within India, outside India, we collaborate and we see if we can generate better, enhance the student experience and reduce the cost and price for the student. And this can happen, for example, one module you deliver by online, one module outside India, one module here and there. But at the same time, we also have to think about the realities. Why do students go abroad? Are they going only for learning? If so, then one module foreign is better. But if it is also a job and settlement, then we have to see how international multinational corporations can also participate in recruitment and selection of such programs. So not taking much time, thank you so much for giving me opportunity once again. Thank you, and look forward to further questions, discussions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Given your wide experience in Indian academia and also academia in around the world internationally, I think you have set whatever tone Piyush Sharma sir has set. You have built on that, and you have given us target that if we in Indian academia can change the student experience, minimize the cost, and also see if we can manage the middle path between students going international and students staying in India, what they can get, what best bet they have to get. In these discussions, we have somehow to integrate the discussion on digital transformation of the academia, how the artificial intelligence, machine learning being integrated, whether our universities are becoming paperless, and there is a sustainability angle to this technology as well. There are several such cyber security angle, climate change angle. So we'll come back to those issues. We have two distinguished expert panels from the industry who will be talking about cyber security and climate change aspects as well. Thank you, Professor Tripathi, for your eloquent, to the point, and forward-looking message that Industry 4.0, it is not just about technology, it is also about experience. And thank you for that final thought. That we'll come back to you if there are questions. And we would like to invite Professor. Everyone who joins, please keep your audio muted. By default, your audio should be muted, please. If you don't keep your audio muted, we'll be forced to remove you from the Zoom, and please watch the YouTube live then. So thank you, everyone. And Parvinder Singh sir, I would like to briefly introduce him. Parvinder Singh sir is the Vice Chancellor of Rayat Bahara University, and he has been an award-winning technology and innovation teacher as well. He has associated with Brain Wonders, and he has been career consulting company in New Delhi as well. So there have been immense work that he has done in connection to technology, in connection to management, in connection to leadership, an eminent scholar and administrator. May I have the honor of Parvinder Singh sir to build on what Professor Tripathi has done so well by now. Over to Parvinder Singh sir.
Thank you very much, Professor KK Dash. and Dr. Srinivasan Subbarata. Firstly, I acknowledge the invitation very gratefully to share this platform with a learned colleague like Professor Shiv Tripathi, Professor Payush Sharma, and Philip Zarelio from USA, Pooja Chitnes, all my other fellow colleagues who are online attending this webinar through social media also. I think a very pertinent topic which has been selected by the CIT, which is recently founded, and the main target of this site is to promote the advancement of tertiary education. So when we had a meeting in January in Pune, the vision of Rahul Kararji and Vishwanath Kararji was crystal clear. And carrying on the legacy of such events, one is likely to held in June. I think Srinivasan will endorse. That's going to be National Law Conference, NLC, in Bombay, where more than 75 legislators and others, that's on the legal education. So coming to this part, this is entirely different. The fourth industrial revolution. So the concern is, are we ready? When we had 3 days discussion in Pune with US-India chapter, this was very serious concern. I think we all agreed on that very agenda. The readiness of the university to adopt the fourth industrial revolution 4.0, that varies from institutions and to the various regions, because we are in between the technology revolution that is fundamentally altering our life and the world related to this thing. As rightly said by Professor Shiv Tripathi and Professor Payush Sharma, this transformation is the scale and scope and complexity to the history. That's a one point, which comes to me. And that is, what is the scale of this Industrial Revolution 4.0? The response to such revolution should be integrated and comprehensive, involving all the stakeholders at the global level, from private sector to academia, and finally to the civil society. That is also very important. So if you just go back, we know that in the first industrial revolution 1.0 that happened in between 760 to 1820, the textile manufacturing was the first to adopt changes. So they saw the profound consequences. Comparing to the Indian civilization, the agriculture and mining were there. In the second industrial revolution, when the electric power came as a mass production, we used to call it as a semi-technological revolution. So it varies from about 1870 to 1940. Extensive railroad and telegraph networks that started in this time. Of course, we were not the independent country at that time. The period of great economic growth for the other countries, for the developed countries, maybe USA or the Europe, whereas unemployment was one of the biggest challenges at that time. The third industrial revolution, when came into existence, we named it as digital revolution, the production of Z1 computer, and the beginning of the digital technology. The supercomputer were designed, extensive use of computer and communication technologies, they started flowing, and India became part of this revolution. Maybe it was delayed industrial revolution, which is still continuing. Now coming to the today's talk, Industrial Revolution 4.0, we are extending the same third, whereas there is a fusion of technologies in the universities, physical, digital, and biological. So coming to this side, what is to be used by the universities, which is concern of everyone, the artificial intelligence, where we can think the humans They can recognize the patterns, process information, recommendations of the spotting patterns, huge piles of the unstructured data, blockchain, faster computer processing, make the computer smarter. The advent of the cloud has already taken over. The safety and the storage accessibility of the data, that is also the challenge. Professor Tripathi has underlined very serious challenges. Whereas if we are moving for the 4.0, then we have to see the synchronization of the education 4.0. So these two industries, they are to go simultaneously. Millions of times powerful computers, they have potential to enhance the artificial intelligence. So in a way, we are moving from reality to the virtual reality. So with a headset, augmented reality, so makeup apps, they are allowing the digital technology to do the experiment and make the products. So in our country, I think this is the right time. The biotechnology should be encouraged with this Industrial Revolution 4.0, cellular biomolecular process, developing new technologies, efficient industrial manufacturing process, more efficient energy sources, and of course, the low-cost gene sequencing, robotics, Internet of Things, they should be part of our curriculum. With regard to the NEP also, so reimagining of these syllabus, reinventing, redesigning, reskilling. So all these things, they are lined up now. So impact of the fourth industrial revolution will lead to the supply side improvement with gains of efficiencies and productivity. Transportation and communication will drop, logistic and the global supply chain will become more effective. So if particularly we see the role of Indian society or the Indian university, the earlier industrial revolution came to India in the colonial past, whereas the ICT marks the transformation of these phase. Industrial revolution in India based on the big data and AI. So what are the challenges? Some of the challenges which I will not repeat what Professor Tripathi had said. Inequality, the revolution could yield greater inequality, particularly potential to disturb the labor market, strengthening the infrastructure, improving the connectivity to the globe. Inequality represents the greatest societal concern for the Indian society. The country which is now number one is the population, unemployment, threat to the privacy, policy making. We are already over-regulated, and then the security threat. These are some of the challenges which may happen, but there are solutions, the potential to reduce the scale or impact through the development of new modes of protection, greater precision and targeting the data. Now, coming to the education part, with this unprecedented industry swiftly infiltrated in almost every domain of the human activity. It may be cyber, it may be cloud, it may be nanotechnology, it may be energy storage. Due to the rapid pace of these discoveries, the fourth industrial revolution needs the reshape of all the industries through technology and personalized data, open source content, and one of the most pronounced effect of the industry 4.0 is discernible in education process. That is what we are thinking of. The core focus of education 4.0 is to build the strong learning capabilities with a customized learning approach that demonstrates the intellect with the thorough scope, responding perceptivity. So what is required? The character, creativity, and the collaboration. So that is required. The genesis of the industry 4.0 is the education 4.0, which encapsulate the integration of the man and machine. So we need to stress upon the man and machine should go simultaneously. Now, active blended learning is required. Flipped classrooms in the university systems are required. Personalized learning is required. Remote learning, education and overview, innovative pedagogic model is there. Project-based learning. And also, we need to apply the application learning process in our syllabus. Experiential learning, gamification, bring your own device, Void, and embodied learning in education. So these are some of the points which need to be considered by the policymaker and the administrator of the higher education in our country. We need to go for the Vishwaguru. We are moving for Atmanirbhar. We are self-reliant. As the examples are given by Payush Sharma sir, when we had the university like Takshila and Nalanda, we were known all over the world. Now the time has come to realize, in view of the NEP 2020, with the improvement in the GR system and the GDP, pedagogy, humanity, cybergogy, these things need to be taken into consideration. The performance will be determined by EQ and IQ abilities. Education will have to build the modular degree instead of one-shot state-jacketed approach, which is going on for more than decades in our country. The traditional methods of administration of education are insufficient and they must be reimagined, and the learning and education must meet the demands of the changing society. That is the third area. The social realms of, in addition, cognitive and content-based learning, curiosity, sensitivity, risk-taking, and thinking metamorphosis in different perspectives are required by the leaders of the higher education. That was my personal perception with regard to the performance of education 4.0 and industrial revolution 4.0. Both should have hand in glove with each other. What academician need, what industry needs, that is the biggest challenge to us. Both are having the wide gap in between. It may be the redesigning of the syllabus or maybe the infusion of the skills among the academicians. That is, so learning must continue. Learning should be it should not be static for a teacher. So that is the required. So these are my personal views on the roadmap, which has been already set, and target will be achievable. 100% we will be the Vishwaguru in the higher education field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And this actually takes the discussion to the next level. You have come to from the macro, international, national picture to the micro level of institutional management level, having Industry 4.0 and its features being integrated into the ecosystem of academia. And thank you, sir, for bringing it to the micromanagement at the micro level, micro implementation at there. And we will now go to three distinguished experts led by the technical panel by Professor Zerillo, who is a globetrotter, a marketing innovation professor who globally is well known for his innovations in teaching, in pedagogy, in publications, and in consulting as well. So here is a professor. I'm going to invite Professor Zerillo, who has been with the University of Texas, Austin, who has been with the National University of National Management University at Singapore Management SMU, at ISB at Hyderabad, and now at Thammasat University in Thailand. So he will be someone who will be bringing some insights into what he sees as someone who is a globetrotter, who is a consultant to leading B schools, and how he sees the system innovation can happen through integrating Industry 4.0, and what is his idea, that what is his suggestion for way forward for Indian universities, as he has been also closely associated with. Over to Professor Zerillo. Thank you for joining.
Oh, hello, and thank you for having me here today. Folks, I want to just start this out by saying, first and foremost, I have COVID right now, and so I'm a little bit, my eyes are watery, my nose is full, and I may cough in the middle of this, but we will get through.
Please take care, and finish it as soon as possible if you want to.
No worries, we'll get through this. Okay, so, I titled this talk, The Future of Management Education, and Are You Ready? Alternatively, I could have, in some respects, said the future of education really depends on where you are and where you're standing, right? So when I look at, when I go to conferences and when I talk with people in different parts of the world, the first thing that really crops up and the first thing you begin to understand is that different countries, different institutions, different systems are really at very, very different places around the world. And that the problems that, or the challenges that you face in India are very unlike the challenges that are being faced by some of the very developed countries, some of the countries over in East Asia and what have you. So when I talk about this, I really kind of think to myself that in some respects, what the future is going to bring really depends on your market and what market you're in, and whether you have a demand problem or whether you have a supply problem. Okay, and I'll talk through this in just a second. But you know, in the developed world, we're looking at scarcity. Okay, I was offered a dean's job over in Korea in 2019. 2018 was when the offer came, and 2019 would have been the start date. The Korean higher education was looking to close 4 of the 43 universities that year. So, you know, you start to look at a government closing 10% of their colleges. That's a very, very different environment than what you're looking at in India, where it seems that there's a new school opening every 10 days in India at this moment, or looking at places like Africa, where it's estimated that to be able to service the young people in Africa with higher education opportunities, you would need to be opening a new school every 3 days in the country. One of the things we have to first look at is where are we, right? In the developing world, we're looking at ways to scale, right? Ways to take our limited supply of faculty, of institutions, and being able to scale that out to the largest audiences we possibly can. On the other hand, there's other parts of the world where there just are no students, and they're looking long, far, and deep for ways to get students and ways to imbibe their universities, which have already been built. Okay, the mode in which we're going to educate is going to be one of these things that I think we're all going to face. You know, are we going to recreate the brick and mortar in the developing world, you know, and adopt the 700-year-old Cambridge model of education of the classroom, or are we going to adopt these new technologies? The other thing is in terms of collaboration. Okay, are we going to look for regional collaborations? And I'll have a couple of thoughts on that a little bit later in this talk. Okay, other topics that we're going to talk about a little bit throughout this 15 minutes is technology, the face-to-face and online versus a dyadic interface versus collaborative. And we're going to talk a little bit about administration and where administration is going to have to play and some of the things they're going to have to do if they're going to be players in this next generation or this next iteration of what education is going to look like. So let's talk about markets for just a second. So if I look at East Asia, for example, it has 9 of the 11 lowest or slowest birth rates in the world. So what we're seeing in East Asia is places like Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Macau. Okay, these populations are declining very, very quickly, right? I mean, if we take someplace like Japan, Japan's population is estimated in 2015 to be at about 127 million. And it's estimated that by 2035, okay, which is only a decade from now, it would be 22 million people smaller. You know, so if you take an economy like that and you say, okay, look, we're going to reduce the population by 22 million on a base of 127, that is a very significant drop in the country. Now, the other thing that's happening is as that country ages out, and it's not receptive to immigration for the most part. As the country ages out, the average age in, or the median age in Japan is 52 years of age. Well, the one thing that young people do that old people can't do is reproduce, right? So a country like Japan is destined for a very, very different education future in terms of the students that they have. So what I mentioned here in the second point is schools are closing, right? In Korea, 10% of the universities closed in 2019, or they were asked to close. They'll close over a 4 or 5 year period. In 2020, British higher education predicted the loss of as many as 25% of their schools over the next 6 years. Okay, in the USA, 2020 to 2022, 37 different universities closed down in the United States. Okay, and when estimated, and they asked, universities, could you foresee closure in the next 10 years? 28% of universities administrators, being presidents, chancellors, deans of that level, were saying, yes, we could see having a financial calamity such that we need to close. Okay, so why is this? Well, look, around the world, one of the things we find is state funding has begun to decline. Okay, as populations age, there's other uses for that money. When populations are young, the politicians like to put money into education. As populations get older, they tend to put it into things like healthcare. Okay, and if I look at state funding in the United States, now that's a model I had a lot of experience with, having been a state school student and having taught at the University of Texas. Okay, the overall in the last 40 years, the percentage of tuition paid for by the state for a student has declined by more than 80%. Okay, so what are you seeing? Well, the government really isn't paying for these kids to go to school anymore. When I got to the University of Texas as a very junior assistant professor, okay, I remember walking in and it was 58% of our revenue came from the state. By the time I left 14 years later, and I'd been the dean of graduate studies there at the Macomb School of Business, by the time I left, we would talk about how the state was only giving us 18% of our budget, right? And that the rest of it was dependent on tuition. So as tuition is rising, right, it's been going up. And if one is to trace the level of tuition from 1972 to 2012, tuition went up at more than 50% faster than healthcare went up in the United States. Okay, and this is not an oddity around the world. So what we're seeing is tremendous inflation in education. If I look at the amount of debt that a student is coming out of school with from 2015 to 2020, okay, the increase in the amount of debt that a student was taking on to go to school had increased by 146%. Okay, so what's happening? Education is becoming bloody expensive. Okay, and schools are struggling to find students that will pay that freight or pay that rate to be able to go to these schools in some of these developed countries. Now, look, are there areas for growth in these markets? Sure, there are. Okay, the first one is what I call language-based learning. Okay, I live in Thailand today, and Thailand has flat population growth. Okay, if you look at Thailand, we're not producing a lot of kids that are graduating from high school. One of the real difficulties here is the young males are able to work in the family farm. So once they get to be 13, 14 years of age, these kids don't go, they don't finish their high school. So what we're seeing is over 70% of our applications for college are from females. Okay, the females will, get their degree at one of the regional universities. They migrate to the larger cities and they never go back to these farms. So, what we're seeing is real chopping of the pipeline of future students. Okay, now, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't recognize that demographic issue and what it's creating here in Thailand. But what you're seeing is that, these young females who come from the farm to a regional university, then do an advanced degree in maybe Bangkok or Phuket, one of the big cities, they eventually get international jobs they don't marry, they don't reproduce. And what you're seeing is this real depression of the college eligible students within a country like this. Okay. On the good side, 48% of corporate directors are female. Females outnumber males in all entrepreneurial levels. Female income outperforms male income in the country. So lots of what people would deem to be very equity-based bonuses to this, but from a society standpoint, it's making it difficult for these colleges. Now, what have the colleges done here? Well, they realize there is no pipeline of Thai students. So what they've done is they've started to open up international programs, English-based programs. Now, this has been a way of, one, keeping some of the international expat children here close to home and keeping them with their families as they want to go on to higher education. But it has also allowed them to attract students in from other places. You know, if I were to look at a place like the Philippines, for example, I spent a lot of time out in the Philippines. In the Philippines today, as in any other day of the week, any other time of the year, there are roughly 220,000 Koreans in the Philippines learning English. Right? Now, when I looked at one of the other speakers' talks about how many Koreans are coming to India, my question is, why aren't they learning their English in India? Right? I mean, India speaks pretty much the same level of English that one experiences over in the Philippines. You know, once upon a time, the Philippines was 100% international English. However, now Tagalog has begun to come back and been revived, and the English levels have gone down a bit. But tremendous opportunities there for English-based programs. Today, most of the universities that are growing in India in the Philippines are growing with what? Chinese students that are coming over. Okay, one of the things we're seeing is the Chinese student is looking for a home. You know, Australia has become a destination that it used to be 6 out of every 10 students down in Australia were Chinese by some estimates. Today, the Chinese are avoiding that market. You know, similarly, the U.S. With the trade wars and the anti-Chinese sentiment, we're not seeing the kind of uptake or the kind of surge in demand that we were seeing in Chinese universities. However, it should be noted, there are 380,000 Chinese going to school at American universities this year, and there is less than 3,000 Americans going to school in China. Okay, so lots of opportunities. Okay, it's just a question of how do we think about them. The second thing that we're seeing in these language-based programs is much higher tuition and fees. Okay, so if a Thai university has an English-based program, and these are the ones that are growing, they're charging double the tuition roughly for the English-based programs. I see the same thing throughout Vietnam. Okay, the English-based programs carry about 100% premium to the local language programs. Okay, but what these things have also done is open up opportunities to bring students in from other places to learn in that language. So what my recommendation is look, if you want to have international students, don't try to teach them in Korean, because I can tell you there's 23 million Koreans and nobody else wants to learn that language other than the kids that want to learn about K-pop. Okay. Similarly, Thai is another one of those languages. I'm lucky I speak it now, but Thailand is one of those languages. Unless you're going to live here, what do you do with that language when you go abroad? So why would I ever want to study in something like Thai? Okay, if I'm going to study, I want to study in one of 4 languages. I either want to learn in English, I want to learn in Chinese, I want to learn in Hindi, or I want to learn in Spanish. Okay. What country has probably one of the greatest advantages in this market? It's certainly India. Okay. And if you're looking for those international students to come abroad to go into your programs, you know, you'll have to offer it in their languages. You can't expect them to be coming in speaking local dialects or what have you. Okay. All right. Other thing that we're seeing is new recruiting venues. As I mentioned, the Chinese students are looking for places to go. Philippines is seeing a tremendous surge in Chinese students. Malaysia is seeing a tremendous surge in Chinese students. That's largely because some of the other places where the Chinese students used to go are falling off. The other thing is look, let's be very, very frank about it. If we're talking about graduate education or even the undergraduate education, what people are willing to spend for students for a mid-degree, okay, is going to be a lot lower in these countries. So what I mean by this is look, you can go to the 50th ranked MBA program in the United States and it'll still cost you $65,000 a year. On the other hand, I can go to a pretty good MBA program out in Southeast Asia, and I can do that for about $5,000 to $6,000 a year. Okay. And if it's taught in English, it might cost me $10,000 a year. So, what a lot of corporations and a lot of families have started to recognize is that the tuition buy is a lot cheaper in these places like Southeast Asia, South Asia, even in countries like South Africa and what have you. Okay, the other thing to kind of recognize though is that we talk about that tuition and we talk about that cost is probably the fastest growing degree now. And I had a talk with the folks over at GMAC about 2 weeks ago. And they were saying that, the only thing that they see that's growing faster than the Master's in Management, the 1-year program, is the degree that they see growing the fastest is students doing a 4-year degree in which they do 2 years in their home country and 2 years abroad. That way they look at being able to get a degree from an international university, but only pay 60% of the cost, right? The West has become too expensive. And so what families are looking for is 2 years in India and then 2 years to finish junior off over in a place like the United States or Singapore or wherever it is. And what we're seeing is more and more degrees opening in this way. The Asian Management Institute, Asian Institute of Management in the Philippines just went into undergraduate education. They signed up with the University of Houston, and having once been a Harvard disciple and been a graduate MBA program only, they're now in undergraduate education, and they're partnered with the University of Houston on a 2-and-2 program. So we're seeing a lot of this. Okay. The other thing that we're seeing is schools are starting to recognize, and they should, that you can't be done with education at the age of 22. 74% of students today are considered non-traditional students. Non-traditional students, okay, it depends on what country we're talking about, what non-traditional means. In the United States, we use non-traditional to mean students over 25 years of age, and we're seeing that 56% of our students are non-traditional. The UK uses a little bit more of a broader term for non-traditional students as they look at people's sexual background and people's ethnicity and things like that. And they claim that non-traditional is as high as 74%. So, exact apples to apples comparisons, let's just guess that it'll be somewhere north of 50%. And what people are looking for at those ages are often degrees and they're looking for certifications and not degrees. I worked on a project for the Singapore government when I was the dean at Singapore Management University of the graduate school. And we were looking at lifelong learning, and it was overwhelmingly people were not looking to curate classes for degrees. That was of very little interest for those older groups. What they were looking for was they were looking more for certifications. The other thing which was interesting, and it's not in this slide deck, is we started to see that people wanted classroom opportunities very close to them. And that what we needed to do is stop building universities at the state level and maybe use some of the other facilities. I mean, Singapore has a lot of community centers. They have a lot of government buildings. You know, those are not being used after 5 o'clock at night. Let's use those conference rooms and let's deliver some of this skills future training, because skills future is going to be a part of the future for these governments, right? Careers are just not lasting as long as they used to. And, you know, education is going to have to play a role in this. Okay, whether they choose to or not is going to be up to the individual institutions. But if they do choose to, okay, it's going to take a very, 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 very different mindset, right? It's not going to be where you walk in with a textbook and give people the 4 Ps or the 3 Cs or STP or something. You're going to have some people with some practical knowledge and who are working towards the edge of practice and being able to transform these people's skills to make them readily employable. Okay, so the topics will be different. Okay, so the talent, as I say, what is it going to take to execute? Well, the time, the talent, and the considerations and the flexibility are going to all need to be a great deal different. When you start hunting after students who are not in that 18 to 22, and you can't demand that they sit on your campus every day, but that they meet at a building, 3 nights a week, that's a very different student, and you have to think of your customer centricity in a very different way. Let me just, the sunny side. Okay, so on the other side of the world, right, things are growing, right? So if I'm in Africa, South Asia, South America, okay, what we're seeing, unparalleled growth in terms of student demand. How we're going to grow, as I said a little bit earlier, are we going to, embrace the 700-year-old tradition of the Cambridges of the world, or are we going to build our institutions differently? Okay, similarly, the idea of scholarship is going to be a great deal different, right? I remember, everybody had an office and everybody had a door on the office, and everybody's office door was closed, right? And this was the monastic lifestyle that we faculty lived in. Okay, I'm not sure that's going to be able to continue. Okay, but one thing that you're going to see is in the developing marketplace, and I noticed it while I was in India, and I noticed it while I was running seminars on faculty development for institutions, was that everybody was in need of staff, faculty, and talent on the delivery side. The demand was growing so fast that the biggest concern was not getting students and not getting revenue, but having people to actually be able to deliver on the promise, right? And create that vision for the organization, or execute on the vision that they were professing. So it really becomes, in some respects, depending on where you are, an administration problem, okay? And those are problems for us to solve, the people on this kind of a call. But the question I have to ask is, are we willing to change? I've had several doctoral students who've done their dissertations on the willingness of academic institutions to change and how people are selected into the roles where they have decision responsibility over vast changes of the organization. And I've looked at whether or not the incentives line up or promote change within the universities. And, quite frankly, they don't. Okay, it's not been something that universities have really thought about the management of the university in terms of what kind of people do we need? How is the organization going to have to change? How do we get the right kind of people in roles that have the responsibility and the decision authority to be able to change to meet a changing marketplace? Okay. So some of the things I would caution on going forward is look beyond your local markets. Okay. There's don't sell yourself short. India is a place that it's coming towards you. Okay, I watched this with China. Okay, all of the US universities and Canadian universities started to try to get a leg into China. Okay, it's going to come to India now. China is kind of run its course. And people are starting to look at India as a place for growth, as a place for students, and do not underestimate your power in that sales relationship. Look beyond degrees. As I said, skills future is going to be a political imperative going forward. Okay, as any society begins to age a bit, okay, it's going to be career progression that's going to become important. So anything you can do to skill up your population continuously will be very, very useful. Okay, the other thing is the world's looking for experiences. Okay, and I think India is one of the most unique experiences in the world, right? I mean, I went to India. I turned down a role over in Korea because I thought India was the future, right? And I still believe that India is the future. And I felt like there was nothing that would have rounded out my profile more than spending some time on the ground in India. Okay. But as you're looking for those experiences with outside partners and what have you, think small. Okay. Don't try to engineer the big joint degree program and things. Those are really hard to put together. Start small. Start with 1 week excursions, 2 week excursions, some limited faculty exchanges. Be a turnkey provider for these people, where what you do is you say, you know what, if you want to bring 50 students over here, we'll put together a 10-day class for you. Figure out how to do it off the books, around the books, over the books, under the books, however you have to do it, and just be a good partner to these people. Once you get their people traveling out and they feel comfortable that you can deliver, it's amazing where these relationships will go to. Okay, so think small, get started, take the first step, and it's amazing how far you'll go in this journey. Okay, the world wants, and I will say needs, partners. Okay, we've used the term here that partnerships around the world. Everybody's looking for partners. Okay, what I talked about with the West, they're all struggling. What I talked about in East Asia, they're all struggling. They want and need partners. Okay, if you can bring your students for half of a degree, it may be good for you to recruit students with the idea that they'll get a joint degree, 50% ours, 50% theirs, and both schools will benefit from this kind of experience, as will the students. Okay, and bring in your talent and develop it. Okay, degrees are not the only thing to evaluate. Don't allow your resources to atrophy in place. One of the things I've done is I've gone around teaching people how to develop new pedagogy, things like case writing, case teaching, areas like that, to just reinvigorate some of your teaching track faculty to be able to keep continuing to develop. And decision-making leads to energy. Whatever you're doing, just keep making decisions and send signals to your team that you're going forward. If this is always something that we come in, we have a nice discussion, we all feel good, we have some chai and a couple of samosas, and then we go away, this stuff never goes anyplace and people stop preparing for it. If, on the other hand, you start putting things on the table, making decisions, it's amazing where you can go. So that's it. That's it for me. A couple of things I would say is, look, it depends on where you are. The West and the East are really, really interested in you guys. Okay, they see lots of low-hanging fruit. They see lots of students. They see lots of scholarship. They see lots of opportunities. It's up to you to figure out how to get to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Zerillo. You are discussing threadbare the opportunities that are existing in the context of the developing world that we call in the context of developed and developing context. So talking about the global South, opportunities in East Asia, Southeast Asia, including Africa and in India as well. So language-based programs, you have identified one of the key flagship programs that Indian universities can offer. So there are several such insights thank you for going into the details of your presentation, despite not being very, very well. You have given so much of time to us. Thank you so much, Doctor. And we are indebted and grateful to you.
Thank you,
And,
Professor Leo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I invite, have the opportunity and privilege to invite Lavanya Prakash Jaina, who is a thought leader in climate finance and now working for the Commonwealth London regional office as a climate finance advisor. He has also worked as a sustainable climate finance consultant for the United Nations Development Program, and also has been leading the development of India's sustainable finance roadmap in Association of Minister of Finance as well. So he's a thought leader, regular columnist on climate and sustainable finance for various platforms, including World Economic Forum, Hindu Business Line, etc. So just a brief introduction. Over to Lavanya sir for your insights on how do you see Industry 4.0 in and Indian universities and their preparedness in the context of climate tech. Over to you.
Thank you, Kamal. And can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, 1 second. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to be here, particularly knowing the initiatives by the various universities, not only here in India, but outside India. So I will discuss about the role of universities in the context of the climate change. So very quickly, I will say that, as we know, that the global temperature is increasing at an enormous rate in industrialization, 1850 or 1860 or so.
Your voice is echoing. Just check again.
Can you hear me now?
Little better.
Okay, I'm here. I'm using a headphone. Okay. Since industrialization, global temperature is increasing. Increased by 1.2 degrees since 1850 or 1860 or so. But more importantly, the global temperature has been volatile a year. Sometimes in the summer season, it is touching 45 degrees, 50 degrees in northern part of India, which is unheardable in a couple of years back. And at the same time, global glacier ice level and Arctic ice level is also decreasing. The ocean content and sea level heat content is also increasing, which is creating a huge problem. So that's the reason why 189 countries, they came together in December 2015, and they made a commitment to limit increasing global temperature by 2 degrees by 2050, or they will try to limit global temperature by 1.5 degrees. But this is an impossible task, because if you see the progress since 2015, the progress has not been encouraging. The national determined contribution, which we call the commitments of various countries to limit global temperature, has not been encouraging at all. Because one of the reasons why the temperature is increasing, the key reason is the increase in GHG emission, the GHG in the atmosphere. But more importantly, we need to see that from where this greenhouse gas is coming from. It's coming from mostly in energy sector, which is contributing around 70% of GHG, then industrial processes and land use, which includes agriculture and deforestation also. But at the same time, if we see that inside agriculture, energy, there are electricity industry and the transportation sector. So what it means that we need to reduce our electricity demand very, very quickly. Otherwise, it will be impossible for us to limit global temperature by 2050 and reduce the carbon intensity of electricity generation, particularly here in India. We are using heavily coal, which is a requirement for us, which is very difficult for India to leave coal very quickly. But at the same time, we try to use fossil fuel technologies with a low carbon intensity, like wind, solar, hydro, geothermal, and sometimes nuclear also. On the other side, we need to reduce transportation emission. We need to be more efficient and use electrification as a fuel for transportation. Like we know that we are transitioning to electric vehicles also instead of combustion vehicle. At some point of time, once electricity generation comes from low carbon intensive electricity generation utilities, the carbon dioxide from the transportation system will also decrease. Then we need to reduce non-electricity industry sector emission like chemical process in cement manufacturing or so, mostly in hard to decarbonize industry like airlines, steel, iron, or cement or so. Then of course we need to reduce deforestation and forest degradation in particular. For example, we need to stabilize our ecosystem as well as we need to move to very quickly to climate resilient or less carbon intensive agriculture system very soon. But when we are talking about what are the technologies that are going to help us in reducing carbon emission, the key will be renewable energy. We need to move, then electric mobility also, energy storage, then in the decarbonized stage like low carbon metals, low carbon chemicals, then waste management, agriculture or food, and of course energy efficiency, because energy efficiency is going to help us in reducing carbon emission intensity by 30% or so. But if we see that where these technologies, what is the stage of these technologies? If I see this technology, for example, electrification, material efficiency, energy efficiency, or increased reuse and recycling, these technologies we are using extensively currently. But at the same time, these technologies are not really commercially viable in several segments and many areas also. But it will take another 10-15 years to reach us at a level that all these technologies will be commercially viable. For example, the renewable energy sector, so wind, solar, or hydrocarbon, is commercially viable. But at the same time, if we see that the green hydrogen, which is not commercially viable now, for example, long distance truck, electric long distance truck, it's not commercially viable. It means that we need to reduce the cost of this technology very quickly. At the same time, we also need to invest on new technologies like carbon capture and storage, zero carbon hydrogen production, novel chemical analysis and separation, particularly which is useful, very useful in cement industry also, then develop new cement industries as well. So we need to heavily invest in research and development. If you see that the achievable reduction of carbon from the existing technologies which are commercially viable, which will help us in reducing the carbon emission by 20%. But all these new technologies like carbon capture storage, alternative materials, or new chemical products, or hydrogen use, it will help us to reduce carbon emission by cumulatively 50%. And then there are other technologies like direct air capture also, which will help us in reducing carbon emission by 100% by 2050. But it doesn't mean that the economy will only will function without carbon emission. There will be carbon emission, but at the same time, we need technologies which will help us in reducing carbon or removing this carbon from the atmosphere, which is creating this global climate change mess. Okay, so the critical thing is that how the universities can help us in doing all these activities. One is that developing new technologies and solutions. If we see that according to the IPCC report, half of the technologies which are at various stages, starting from at the basic research and development stage or the lab stage or so, are not commercially used currently. It means that universities have a huge role to play to develop these new decarbonizing technology and solutions, because industry, the university is a player, they can collaborate with different disciplines. It could be industrial engineer, it could be chemical engineers, it could be environmental scientists, it could be policy makers also. Then explore innovative ways to mitigate climate change. Then more importantly, the industry can also use their existing labs or invest in new labs to develop, design and test new technology. That's very important, because there are many technologies that I said earlier, which are at research and development stage, which will help us in reducing carbon emission. Then there are several technologies, for example, green hydrogen or direct air capture, which is there already, but it's not commercially viable. It's not going to help us to use at a scale which will help us in reducing carbon emissions significantly. So we need to improve those technologies. Then third, number 3 is finding sustainable alternatives Is there any way we can use alternative materials or alternative technologies to reduce carbon emission? The second, on the education and training part, it means that our people, particularly in India, whether the people who are educated in the industry, here we are talking about all the technologies which are at various stages. Are they well equipped enough to address the challenges of decarbonization? We need to create curriculum and design courses in the universities so that we can impart right education and training to the students so that they can develop and equip themselves with the right knowledge and skills to address these challenges. Number two is that prepare future professionals. It means that the industry needs a huge number of workforce from the universities who can develop or maintain these technologies also. When I'm talking with students, talking with the industry, both in the renewable energy or the low carbon industry, many industry players, they suggest that the kind of students or quality of students we're getting from the academicians, from the academic institutes, they have studied the conventional engineering or conventional science, which is not very useful for us because you are talking about new technology, new low carbon technologies, which will help us to develop new solutions also. So it means that at the university, our goal is to prepare those people so that they can understand the new low carbon technology at the university level. When they join the industry, they're ready and start working very, very quickly. Then collaboration partnership, which is very, very critical because there are industries, they have certain needs. Then there is government agencies who has a commitment at a global level. And many governments, they have also national ambition also. For example, Government of India, they have also ambition to transition their economy. For example, Government of India, a couple of months back, they announced that we will reach net zero by 2070 or so. We are going to add 500 gigawatt capacity of renewable energy by 2030 or so. And on the other side, many companies in the industrial sector, in the corporate side, they have also announced to reach net zero. It means that their carbon emission level will be zero by net level by 2030, 2035 at the corporate level. So there are many several not-for-profit organizations also working in this in accelerating the adoption of low carbon technologies. So the academic institution can play a very, very critical role. They can collaborate between the researchers who are working in the lab in the universities, the industry partners. They need certain skill set. They need the people who can help them in developing new technologies. On the other side, the government who is also ready to provide some funding, and the non-profit organizations also. They can collaborate among them and they can create certain products also. Then establish interdisciplinary research center, which is very, very critical because as we know that to develop any new technology, to come out with any new solutions, there is a necessity to collaborate where we can exchange our ideas, wisdom, and sharing knowledge. So it means that the university, what they can do, they can establish interdisciplinary research center, institutions, are more importantly innovation hubs, because those innovation hubs are very, very critical because there are several IITs, they have developed innovation hubs for startups, for example. Similarly, similar startups can also create, similar innovation can be created in the climate technology space. Then incubation center and commercialization. As I said that the technologies which are at very, very early stage, at a pre-commercialization stage, or at the lab stage, or at the basic science level, so they are not ready to be commercialized right now. So is it possible that whether the university can bring the idea innovator and develop entrepreneurship among the innovators, at the same time provide necessary resources, including the lab, including the services of the researchers, maybe professors, maybe PhD students also, provide mentorship, and if possible, provide funding opportunity, because some of the technical institutes here in India, they provide funding opportunity also to researchers and students who are coming out with new technologies, new ideas. That can also be possible inside the university. Then another very, very critical role the university can play, policy and advocacy. because as a researcher, you know that what would be the best policies the government, maybe state or central government, should come out to accelerate the adoption of low carbon technologies. They can definitely contribute knowledge and provide right information, right insights, so that the policymakers and regulators, they can take informed decision as well. And most importantly, the professors and researchers in the academic institutions, they have enormous power to influence the decision making in the policy making ecosystem. That's very, very important. Then policy evidence-based recommendations, because the researchers, they mostly they conduct, whenever they conduct research, so they're mostly academic empirical based research, because nowadays the policymakers or regulators, they would like to see that whether the recommendations coming from the academicians are empirical based or conceptual, because the researchers and the professors sitting in the universities, they are mostly doing research on empirical based information, so that will be really, really helpful as well. Okay, with this timing running out, I'm concluding my presentation. Thank you, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you so much. I think you have outlined the climate and sustainability tech agenda. You are an expert in that platform, working for several years. This is very important aspect in the Industry 4.0 integration. We have been talking about emerging technologies, integration of artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, robotics being integrated to the education process, and digital transformation is the call of the day. Now, I think you have highlighted why it requires to be integrated into the climate ecosystem and have climate tech integrated into the emerging tech and also Industry 4.0, so that academic institutions can also both adapt and commercialialize and patent and innovate and perhaps train their own students and faculty members, perhaps in developing their communities. Thank you so much. As we are running short of time, we will be quickly going to Pooja V. Joshi, Madam, from the EC Council, a platform which trains, certifies, advocates about cybersecurity, and trains peers, partners with the governments, industries, and academic institutions as well in offering solutions, different solutions on cybersecurity as well. So, Pooja, Madam, if you're there from the EC Council, we would like to have your insights and presentation as well. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, thank you so much, sir. Am I audible? Am I visible?
Audible and visible, and your presentation is also visible as well.
All right. So thank you so much. I think before I start my presentation, I must thank SITE and I must thank Professor Srinivas for inviting me to this platform. And it's been immense pleasure. I heard such a great things from the dignitaries across the world. So my name is Pooja Joshi. I am going to speak on something related to cybersecurity and how EC Council and academia actually can work together and bridge the gap which is at present there in India and across the countries. In the education industry from last 25 years, so I keep interacting with many colleges, and when I got this invitation, I was very excited to come and present my thoughts on the field of cybersecurity. So EC Council, though I will give you the introduction that what all we do, but let me tell you, EC Councils works very closely with academia and would like to work even closer to all the colleges and universities and extend our curriculum, our support to all the universities to take cybersecurity education in the next level. While I'm speaking to you from last couple of seconds or minute, there are cyber attacks happening. Just to update you that cyber attack happens every 39 seconds. So you must be thinking that how that is possible. We don't know about it or we haven't heard about it. But let me tell you, we hear those cyber attacks which comes in the limelight. But there are other cyber attacks which happens regularly, which people don't come and disclose. Maybe a person sitting next to you operating from a mobile and his mobile is hacked. Maybe a small-time businessman working on some website and his computer is hacked. Those kind of situations doesn't come in the limelight. But if the attacks happens to the big industries or the organization, it comes very clearly in the media. So we all know about those cyber attacks. But the reality remains the same, that every 39 seconds, there is a attack happening. Now, all of a sudden, you must be thinking that why we are too much into cybersecurity and the trainings and the certification. There is a reason behind that. You know, as I said, the attacks happens in 39 seconds. There are more facts related to it. For example, there is a 4.8 billion population on internet, which means the usage is more. People are accessing the internet day in, day out. So the chances of hackers getting into your system is also very high. So 17 billion connected smart devices worldwide. Just to tell you that 80% of the cyber fraud is generated from the mobile apps, and the 43% of the cyber crime against small businesses, which I just talked on. And it's very clear that it doesn't even hamper the reputation of the organization, but it also have a heavy cost or heavy losses when it comes to any individual or any organization. Now, due to pandemic, these things have gone up because of the very simple reason, because the usage of internet has also gone up. We must have seen that the class, nursery student to all the age of people, everybody is dependent on internet. So that is the reason the cyber crime is going up. And if the crime is going up, it is our responsibility to ensure that we have right skill set available in the industry who can actually work and ensure that our organizations and our universities and everyone whosoever is using the data is absolutely safe. So there is a massive skill gap. Now, cybercrime is going up, industry needs more people. So EC Council has taken this pledge that we are going to train people so that we can produce those cyber security specialists who can go and join the organization and actually can work towards saving the data as well as the organization. So at present, if you look at, the gap is massive. We need 4 million professionals worldwide to ensure that the cybersecurity is in the right hands. I'm sure all of you must have seen what our Prime Minister is also focusing on now, that cybersecurity, he just said that the cybersecurity is a matter of national security. So it's everybody from the top to the bottom. People want to have cyber safe country, cyber safe universities, cyber safe students. So in that scenarios, EC Council is trying their level best to produce the world-class cybersecurity specialist. Just to give you a little more background here, EC Council has got probably 220,000 certified members. We have 2,700 plus training partners and education partners. We have 2,000 plus certified instructors. We use probably more than 3,000 tools and technologies. And we have got 350 plus SMEs, and our presence is there in 140 plus countries. Just to tell you that we started in 2001, EC Council is more than 20 years old organization. I'm sure if you have heard about EC Council, you must have heard many a times a word called Certified Ethical Hacker. This is the program EC Council started in 2003. We are exactly completing 20 years to this certification. And this certification has reached to a point which has been accepted across the world from every point of view, from HR, from the technical round. If you have this certification, you're actually having the maximum number of jobs which are available in the industry. Now, EC Council, since we are 22 years old organization, we have got multiple accreditations and the endorsements from the industry. Just to update you that we have been endorsed by the Department of Defense, US, Navy, Army, and we follow these standards. We follow the NICE framework, which is basically a national initiative for cybersecurity education. So our certification and the curriculum is accepted worldwide. So we are actually, you can just go and present the certification to any of the organization and they know that what is CH and the certifications all about, because our curriculum and certification is actually mapped to a industry's requirement. So as I said, that industry, academia and EC Council works very together. We work with many universities across the world, wherein we have given multiple options to them based on what exactly is their requirement. So, when we do the partnership with the academias, we provide massive support to them. For example, we give them the learning resources, we give them the certifications, we give them the cyber challenges, we give them the cyber competitions, a lot of awards, online instructions, and networking opportunities. Because we have already created this content, we have already created these resources for the colleges. It is just a matter of just going ahead and giving it to, and we are trying our level best to reach out to maximum universities and the academia institutions wherein we can go and provide this kind of an extensive support to all the universities across the world. So our goal is to enhance your cybersecurity program. So I'm sure every college and university nowadays is trying to give cybersecurity either as an additional subject or as a curriculum, for example, BTech in cybersecurity, or maybe as an additional learning facility to the students. So now EC Council can help you in all the areas basically. Right? We can even provide you the faculties. We can even train your faculties to become the instructors for EC Council and can take the curriculum for your colleges. We are supporting the students with various resources and the content which we are offering to them. And we give them a lot of career opportunities. So just to tell you, our programs are mapped to many job roles. So once they complete the program, actually, they are absolutely gainful in employment. And that's how, with EC Council and academia, working towards and making a right standards and giving in good opportunities to a student can actually produce a lot of successful students. Now, why exactly or what exactly we give in academia, right? So we give, let's understand what we give to universities first. So to the universities, whether you have a BTech in cybersecurity or you have a cybersecurity as a separate subject, we have the pre-designed syllabus available with the lesson plans. Our ecosystem for comprehensive learnings and engagement. So we provide the cyber range, the iLab facilities. Now our cyber range and iLab facilities is not the simulations. This is the live environment, what we give to students so that they can actually do and practice how the hacking is happening. They will get a live experience. They may get into that environment and they may switch from different operating systems and get a real life experience. Now to the students, they need to have some credentials. They need to have certification. They need to have the courseware. So we try our level best to pass on the right set of contents to them. We give them in a subsidized prices, and they become eligible for various exams from EC Council. We also work a lot of things for the faculties of the colleges and the academic institutions. So for example, we give them the scholarship to the faculties so that if they would like to train themselves on any of the certification, we'll be very happy to offer these scholarships. We give them complementary resources because learning never comes to an end. So we give resources in a various forms to them. And definitely we give them more exam vouchers, which is on a very discounted price. We also do a lot of competitions and engagements, wherein probably a student and the faculty all can participate. These kind of engagements and competitions give them an experience that how the international market works in, how can you participate in a hacking competitions. Hackathons are becoming very, very important nowadays. So we try and conduct a lot of these sessions, which actually give a student a live and a hands-on experience from cybersecurity perspective. Plus, we also give the white paper and the case studies, which give them a fair idea that how the industry is moving and what all they need in terms of learning the cybersecurity. So if I talk about what all students can learn from EC Council or what all EC Council actually can go ahead and give it to the universities and the academia, this is what we can do. Now, nowhere we are saying that any student has to do everything which you can see on the screen. But if you are into the cybersecurity, or probably if you are the person who's doing maybe IT or something else, but are keen and interested in making a career in the field of cybersecurity, this is the path for you. So you need to start from the basics. So everybody, for example, you need to know the basics, you need to know the core, and then you get into the specialization. Same is with EC Council. So EC Council create your base, wherein we will tell you about what are the basics of cybersecurity. And trust me, every university student, irrespective of what are you learning, has to go through this program, because anybody, whosoever is holding a mobile in the hand, is actually can be the target for hackers. So if I know the basics of cybersecurity, I may be alert. So the awareness program of cybersecurity is meant for all. No age bar, no background that what are you studying, but everybody has to learn on that. Then in the cybersecurity part, we have two sides, the broad sides. One is the red team and the blue team. The red team is on the attack side and the blue team is on the defense side. Any student can actually make a career either in attack side or in defense side, or probably both, depending upon what you want to learn. So we have created the core programs like a CND and CH. Once you do these core programming, it's up to you. Where would you want to make a career? Would you want to be a pen tester, or would you want to be an incident responder, or you want to be a forensic investigator? Based on that, you can choose the next path. Now, this will not happen immediately, like after one by one. It is about once you do one certification, get into some experience, get a hands-on knowledge, and then you move towards next. Because when we are in IT, or when we are in the cybersecurity, we have to keep on upgrading ourselves. And this is how you can do that. Now, suppose if I have done a CH program and I want to be a part of the CHFI, which is a forensic investigator, I will do that certification. Then I'll go and implement in the industry. Then I will choose the specialization. So we have multiple specialization available based on what do you want to do. And if you want to be, and once you have got a good experience of 8 to 10 years of a time, then you have an interesting program for the senior management, which is created by the CISOs, for the CISOs and for the aspiring CISOs, called CCISO. This is our executive management program. So if you are keen in getting into the cybersecurity, EC Council has created a path for you, and you can choose which one you would like to take and move forward in the industry. All these programs are basically having the certification. And let me reiterate one fact to you, that EC Council is just not the training company. We are the certification body. How you do certification from Microsoft, Oracle, Red Hat, this is how exactly we do in the field of cybersecurity. And we are today there from last 22 years providing these certifications to almost every organization. Now, in our academia program, we have the embedding also available, and we can actually do a new course launch for you for your colleges as well. And if you want to take it under the credit-based system, it is very much available. If you want to move towards the non-credit-based system for the academia, then we have different ways to deliver these training. For example, we can do the boot camps, probably we can do the workshops, or we can do cyber competitions. Or as I said, the hackathons, the multiple things we can do based on what is the universities or the college requirement. But both credit-based and non-credit-based, EC Council can help too. So when I say embedding, now what is this embedding all about? What we have done here in EC Council is we have created the curriculum based on the academia requirement. And what we do is with the colleges is we map their curriculum with our curriculum. And once we map and we come close to it, we run it as one program. And the student later on gets two certification, one from the college, the normal degrees, and another certification, which is from the EC Council. Suppose the embedding is something which you are not very keen on, then the boot camps are always available. Now, this is a learning. You can do a 5 days of boot camp. You can call as many students in learning there. Probably it can happen online, offline. And in this boot camps, we generally give a student a courseware, the exam voucher, our cyber range, which is the iLab I just explained on, and we give the world-class trainer to this boot camps as well. So how do we train in boot camp or otherwise in embedding? So we have all the options available actually, right? We do instructor-led training, we do online training, we do a mobile learning, we do computer-based, we do hands-on experience, we have customized learning, and we have a live online learning. So it's like everything is available. It's just that you have to share your requirement, and Easy Counsel will just come and give you the solutions based on your requirement within your universities or the colleges moving ahead. So, as I said, that Easy Counsel's programs are mapped to lot of job roles, but these are some few ones which I wanted to share, that anybody whosoever doing our certification can actually map these roles and can go and apply for the jobs. Now, they can be a cyber forensic specialist, they can be into a network administrator, they can be a cyber security specialist. These are very few, though the list is huge, but these are the few programs which are available in the industry wherein they can just go and apply for the job after doing the certification along with this. Now, just to share some of our customers, these are the people who are wherein you will find a lot of Easy Counsel certified people already working, and they prefer taking people who are having the certifications from Easy Counsel. So cybersecurity is one area wherein people nowadays at least don't want to compromise. We have observed that our certifications has really got a welcome from all the universities, all the enterprises, that people who have done these kind of certifications, when they come and work, they are productive from day one. And the organizations have almost, we did a survey and found that 97% of organizations are saying that if you have done a CH program, you are very close to what is happening in the reality in the cybersecurity. Because we keep changing our curriculum. We keep releasing the new version based on what is there in the industry today, because there is no point teaching the old curriculum. So we are very fast. We have the advisory board members from the various places across the country who gives us the feedback on our curriculum, and based on that curriculum, we keep on changing. So just to give you an example, that a certified ethical hacker certification is the version 12. So in last 20 years, we have changed 12 times our curriculum, just to give a student experience that what is there in the latest in the industry. And today we have reached to a level in last 22 years in Easy Counsel that it has been accepted blindly in many of the organizations, and being a compulsory course from the HR perspective in the field of cybersecurity. So this is what I had to say, and thank you so much once again for inviting. I know I was a little fast because of the time constraint, but I tried my level best to complete all the points. And thank you so much once again to Site Dr. Srinivas and everyone for inviting me here. And I want to give my best wishes to Dr. Philip for get well soon, and I hope you will recover fast from COVID. So thank you so much. I hope this Industry Revolution 4.0 will go to the next level, and I'll be proud to say that I was a part of this committee wherein we got a chance to come and express our thoughts here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We have the objective of having academics and industry experts precisely for this, so that industry experts can bring their own cases and share the examples of how it is being integrated into the academic and industry ecosystems. Thank you for that insightful and threadbare discussion and presentation on cybersecurity. And Easy Counsel is doing brilliant work in that segment as well. Before we wind up the session, we have got some questions, but we do not have time to take those questions now. We have got some questions from online and also from some audience from here. So before we say goodbye to each other and meet again sometime in future, and perhaps create a public policy document on what are the insights that we draw from our presentations today, and reach out to a larger audience of CITE on the higher education 4.0 and industry 4.0 integration. So we'll meet again. Before we say bye to each other, we would like to hear from our distinguished panelists and keynote speakers. Shiv Tripathi, sir, you have been very closely associated with the United Nations program on United Nations, the United Academic Impact, and even Principle of Responsible Management Education as well. So how do you see United Nations looking at academic integration and Industry 4.0, and what experience you have briefly, if you can, in a minute, but that's a very short time to share anything. Sometime it requires a full presentation by you, given your width and breadth of experience across sectors, across continents. We will have a separate session with you, sir. Professor Shiv Tripathi, sir, any last words or thought that you would like to have, anything connected to event or anything connected to the presentation? Over to Professor Tripathi.
Thank you, Professor Dash. It was a really wonderful experience today, this session, and such a great panelist. So just a final thought, you mentioned about that how we look at from like what is the perspective of United Nations. UN has academic council also, and academic impact as well as principles for responsible management education. You know, the UN focuses more on how the 3 dimensions of sustainability could be combined, and technology becomes a means to it. So the perspective, and that's the global perspective, like we need to look into the social dimension, economic dimension, environmental dimension, and I'm happy we touched all the 3 today. But how technology could be enabler, and education and technology we connect in such a way so that we can accomplish our global development priorities across these 3 sectors. So when I say technology, it means that gender is not exclusive. We also include gender. When we say technology and education, we have to see affordability on the one side and enhancing access to the remote areas on the other side. Quality control comes from the other side. So we need to balance, and we have to see. That's why we always believe that how we can be innovative in terms of producing the solution that meets the developmental need, rather focusing into one area or sector. So we have to be more interfunctional, intersectoral. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being very, very crisp and to the point as well. And Professor Parvinder Singh, any final thoughts or last word on the discussion? Over to you, Parvinder Singh, sir.
Thank you very much. This was very wonderful experience. But I think along with the Industrial Revolution 4.0, we must look into the global landscape of the higher education. We should not forget the changes which are dramatically happening in last 25 years in our country. The major force influencing growing the international of higher education, and that will be our industrial revolution, whether it is the education industry or it is the industry as such. The rising global student mobility, which was a serious concern of Professor Tripathi, and the home nation, it can be increased and validated by franchising the degree provisions. So that will enhance. And also the supporting document is the UNESCO as one of the ways in which higher education is responding to the opportunities and challenges of the globalization. So that should also be taken into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And the Pujabi Joshi, I think you are the only expert who is left to say the last words. Lavanya sir has left. Over to you for the first, maybe a minute. Last word.
Thank you so much. I think these are the great thoughts. If we can club together and start proposing to the multiple universities and the academia, it will have a great change, and we will feel the aftercome of Industry Revolution 4.0. From the cybersecurity point of view, I think we have a large scope, because this is the topic which is just not restricted only to the cybersecurity students. It is a vast topic. It has to be delivered, and it has to be sensitized towards every student. So I'm hoping that with universities, with all the dignitaries who are here, I think EC Council can come together and can help the society, can help the universities and academia to move forward when it comes to cybersecurity. So we are all in when it comes to Industry Revolution 4.0. So looking forward to working together and take this forward.
Thank you so much. And a report or a discussion paper should come out of this, and we would hope EC Council will also perhaps provide the industry knowledge partnership and knowledge as well there. Over to Professor Subbarao for the official thank you.
Thank you all the experts, particularly Shiv Tripathi sir and Parvinder Singh ji and Pooja madam and Kamala Kandas and all the participants, those who listen for the last 2 hours almost. We expect 1 hour, 1 hour 15, but it is very, very thought-provoking and very encouraging. Everyone is talking something new. Everything is related to Industry 4.0. Particularly, I never expected that Madam told last in the cyber security. There is a great need, great employment opportunities in that sector. We should definitely include those things. It is in our curriculum. It is in that. Thank you very much. Again, I'm saying thank you to Shiv Tripathi sir. Those he is presently in Germany. He take time and the time difference he managed in that. Thank you, sir. And my special thanks to Parvinder Singh sir for he is circulating to all his deans and HODs to make it to join. It is in that. It's important session in that. And we can also share it through this recorded video and the proceedings to all of you, sir. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, likewise, and thank you, Professor Subbarao, and thank you, Professor Dash, Professor Parvinder Singh ji.
Thanks to all. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
Recording stopped.